And then we call on Dr. Ned Okoro to please come. Want to take the citation of our keynote lecturer.
Fellowship training in Nigeria, and he has worked at various levels, both in the private and government institutions, and was clinician and elder scholar and an excellent teacher. So hand over to Dr. Ayode Adenoku. A round of applause for him, please.
By the premier doctor in Lagos State, Professor Abayomi, the Speaker House of Assembly in absentia, the elders of the profession, I wish to stand on existing protocol. Well, perhaps for some of us who do not know the meaning of Bluetooth, it's very simple. It's a tooth that is good. That is yellow tooth. How is yellow tooth? Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the topic before us is who cares for the carer. Not long ago, Nigerians woke up to the gruesome news that Dr. Olwell Orji committed suicide by jumping over the Third Mainland Bridge into the lagoon. Also in Aba, Dr. Mbaekwe also committed suicide. He's a senior doctor in Aba. Late Chino Achebe, in his book, There Was a Country, noted his brilliant classmate, Dr. Etienne Iyang, committed suicide during residency. There had been catalogue and retinue of medical students who have committed suicide during their training. What is responsible? Let's ask ourselves a question. Who is a carer? Macmillan Dictionary, someone who looks after a person who is ill or unable to look after himself or herself, and a synonym of caregiver. Consequently, we have two types of carers. We have the formal and informal carers. The informal carers are usually the family members. They are not trained, they are unpaid, they maintain support or supervisory role, maintain adherence of patients to medication. They are, largely working out of love and emotion for their clients. Former carers are usually health professionals, patients either within the health facilities or without. They are usually paid, they are trained to function effectively, usually unrelated to patients, but works within ethical limits with sympathy and empathy. I want to say that it is only health workers that work with empathy. Some people can sympathize with you, but empathy, no. Go to the bank and tell them, hey, your house has just been demolished and you need a loan. You say, yeah. That's where it ends. And by the time you get somebody to speak on your behalf, you say, go and the extent and burden of care. 200 million Nigerians right now. And it has become a problem for subsequent governments to take care of the health of this rising population. We have the double burden of diseases, communicable and non-communicable. There is a huge retinue of risk factors: poverty, illiteracy, ignorance, and poor hygiene and sanitation. I was very delighted when the Honorable Commissioner was, mentioning those areas, and very scholarly too. And he mentioned sanitation, environment, access, etc. All these are important for adequate, effective healthcare delivery. They are very, very important. You can imagine a patient who has gone to have excellent care and he returned back into such an environment. WHO, 20% of global maternity deaths occur in Nigeria. Between 2005 and 2015, 600 maternal deaths and not less than 900,000, almost a million, nearly missed cases. 1 in 22 women have the chance or the risk of dying from pregnancy-related matters. That is, 22 women are pregnant. One of them must die in Nigeria. As contrasted to 1 to 4,900 in some developed countries. When you take the possibility of 0.05, then you take this figure, then you see that using 0.05 as the error limit, that it is never going to occur in those places. Whereas in Nigeria, every one of 22 women have the risk of dying if she's pregnant. Life expectancy in Nigeria is 54. And I want to tell you, by age 1, out of 10 children that are born, 2 will be dead. Before the age of 5, 3 will be dead. Before the age of 40 in Nigeria, 5 will be dead. Please, how many remains? Of the 10 children that were born. So recently it has just moved to 54. It used to be 40 for the 8 life expectancy in Nigeria. Regional is 58 and global is 70. So we have a long way to go. Under 5 mortality, we have just come here. It used to be higher. And maternal mortality is 560. It's higher in some places, 1,500 in the northeast. It's higher in some other places. But infant mortality 70 over 1,000, that's almost 100. SDG target is 12 in 1,000, and that's supposed to be in 2030. Chronic and acute malnutrition is gaining ground by the day, with cognitive impairment to the children. You see the percentage of underweight, and in 2017 it has risen to 31.5%. Underweight is a risk factor for cognitive impairment in children. And so, what kind of adults are those ones going to grow into? Stunting, almost 50%, and wasting, 10.5%. That's at 2017. We have a long way to go. That reminds me of when we were young. We would go and play football and come back and line up to come and, some of us still remember how it tastes in the mouth. UNICEF. In Nigeria, 2,300 children under the age of 5 die every day. 145 women, childbearing age, die every day. For us to be scored high, UN says less than 100 per 100,000 is low, above 300 per 100,000 is high, and above 500 per 100,000 is very high. And we have how much? 500 and something. So we still have very, very high maternal mortality. All right, I'll just skip that. Spectrum of care, we have communicable, we have emerging epidemics, Ebola, Lassa, neglected tropical disease, schistosomiasis, etc. Now, work balance and burnout. Work balance is somebody all of us try to do. In the general population, this is general population, they can maintain it almost on a straight line. But for the doctors, burnout increases. Now look at work-life balance. This is general population. The doctors slide down. They cannot maintain work-life balance. Most times because of what? Compassion syndrome. Emotional exhaustion, depersonalization. This is where the problem is. Loss of empathy to patients. You know, doctors, they say doctors at times write prescription without examining the patient. It is area of depersonalization. That reminded me of somebody who went to an interview with a doctor, and he says, "Hello, please come in. Name." The doctor works like 80 hours in a week. He's compensated for how many hours? 40 only. I mean, that in itself, you know, bottle salt, you know, there is something going on. You just can't understand. I should be working and you are paid half for what you are doing. And then every other person comes, 2 o'clock, they change, they come back, they change, they still meet you, they will go home, sleep, come back, they meet you. Sleep deprivation, 7 hours is the median that we must have. But doctors definitely sleep less than that. Exercise. Doctors do everything but keep to what they tell their patient. If a patient comes to the doctor and asks diabetes, they say, "Madam, you must exercise." You must. He himself is not doing anything. And it is said that less exercise leads to emotional exhaustion. So minimum of 3 hours per week is what you will do. What reduces burnout? Of course, how do you cope with burnout? Of course, exercise, sleep, and all that. Depression, this is DSM-5. There is DSM, you know, ICD-10 and all that. But I just use this. If the person is depressed most of the day, diminished interest or pleasure, anhedonia, significant weight loss, insomnia, hypersomnia, psychomotor agitation or retardation. Sometimes when you talk to the doctor, one statement and he replies with 10, something is happening. So I cannot describe the condition of the doctor more than that philosopher, Greek philosopher, who said in Latin, "Alis in saviendo consumo," which means lighting others. Myself, I burn down. They give light, doctors give light, give help, but they themselves, they do what? Burn down. What to do? NMA should lead the fight. Hability, massage, etc. Regular checkup with the government. Planned recruitment and replacement of carers according to UN recommendations should be done. There should be a plan. It is not until residents will go on strike, like in Yaba, about the residents have been on strike for how many months now? Because the government has not replaced those that have exited.
It's a keynote presentation. It's supposed to open the door for the discourse that is going to go on during this scientific sessions over the next 2 days. And indeed, he has given you food for thought and driven the direction on which care for the carers should go. The Honourable Commissioner has a few comments, but I'd like you to, seal. I just want 3 others, please. 3, Baba. I think we properly need to recognize that man. It needs to be read a citation, Dr. Shinawo. A citation. 1, 2, 3, 4. Can we just leave it to that? Okay. Let's start with Baba Doctor.
I hope I got you right when you say that doctors who work who got some extra duties, they are not given the right amount of money. They negotiate with them and force it down. Is it government policy or is it something that is done by people on their own? I mean, this is a surprise to me. I've never thought that anybody is going to work extra hours, which we worked for since 1981, and then suddenly come now and look at money. This breathe in properly, so we know exactly where to stand. This is the spirit of them working these hours. Whether it's government or missionary or anything, it doesn't matter. So breathe in properly so that we know how to deal with it, please.
Okay? Oh, yes. Dr. Mashino.
Thank you. We have to thank Dr. Adedogun for that brilliant lecture. Very thought-provoking, and we are better for it. I'm happy the Honorable Commissioner is here. It's my first time to see you, and it's a privilege to be here to see you in real person. And when I was working for our association at the WONCA is World Organization of Family Doctors, as the African president, the emphasis was to be on the primary. If we don't do it, we're not going to get our health here right in Nigeria, or in Africa for that matter. The Geneva Declaration of the WHO says every family should have a family doctor. Just know that having a family doctor will know you and by names, know your children and the family tree and everything. So we've got to go back to that basics and put our primary health care right. It is time. High time we did this. And I am happy you are having a very cerebral person right on that seat. And that, if that is the only thing you can achieve during your time, it will be a lot of legacy you have to put into the society. Please, do it. The AGPMPN, team members of AGM, they are ready to work with you. Our facilities are open. Those of us who are retiring, like Baba and me now, we're retiring. But the younger ones, they are energetic, they want to work. They have their facilities are well equipped. And it will cost you most money. Just what they have prescribed to have a partnership with the family, with the general practitioners, and it's going to be a symbiotic type of relationship, whereby the facilities are already there, the equipment are there, everything is there, and all you do is supplementation to make it work. Please, Honorable Commissioner, we're looking forward to this, and we hope to be able to do it in your time. God bless. As you do.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. that was a great presentation. My question is this: most of the things in the area of, there are many things you have mentioned that have been recurring, even in the last NMA conference here. They've been recurring over and over again. The issues are yet to be solved. For instance, now the low interest rate loans, the every doctor needs a GP and things like that. We're talking about the things to put in place to be able to implement these strategies, because right now all what was said were just strategies, not just on the side of the government. not just on the side of the government, side of the private practitioner and at the association. Because at the end of the day, doctors are still dying, doctors are still unemployed, doctors are still looking for house job, doctors are still not getting the residency program. So the question is, what can we do in the short term and in the long term to make sure that these topics should not come up if our children will not be discussing these topics? Because they will have been resolved by the time our grandchildren are doctors. But the way it is going now, it's like every year we are hearing it over and over again. We have had many banks come to do presentation. At the end of the day, we hear that doctors are not bankable, you know, or the interest rate cannot work with doctors. So all I'm asking you, sir, is that after such a wonderful lecture, what can we do so that we can begin to put structures in place and monitor the progress we are going to experience in the next, say, 5 years or 10 years, so that these things will become history? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your lecture. Let me first start by apologizing because I have some other commitments that I have to be at, but I wanted to spend at least some time with you. Hello, can you hear me at the back? Before I take my leave, I want to say that I thoroughly enjoyed being here this morning. I've taken all the messages that have been given to me throughout the opening ceremony, and I was particularly impressed with the keynote address. Thank you very much. Many of the solutions to our problems are embedded in that presentation, and if you would oblige me, I would like to have a copy of that presentation. But I'm an academic and a specialist in medicine, and I know what it's like. We talk amongst ourselves. We complain amongst ourselves. But let me tell you, we are not the people to complain to. The people you need to complain to are the people that generate the policies. The people that are in the corridors of power. One little piece of advice, since I've now stepped into the political arena, I see things completely different. Please, you are instruments of advocacy. Whenever you get an opportunity to advocate, use it. You missed an opportunity this morning. We had the Right Honorable Speaker on the platform. I was hoping you would strike while the iron was hot, but he left. He needed to have heard this message. As doctors, I'm not here to give you a lecture or anything like that. I'm just telling you what is required to make your case. Please, you don't schedule a patient for surgery at 7 o'clock and turn up at 8 o'clock. Let us stick to time. We're now almost 1 o'clock.
After 1.
To 2.
2, yeah.
We should have finished this session a little while ago. And with honorable speakers left, I wanted him to hear 2 messages. I wanted him to hear this, and I also wanted him to hear the panel discussion, because I have to advocate in the corridors of power. But if I speak as a lone voice, they will just say, "Ah, doctor, you're just looking after your own." But in a gathering like this, where you all speak with one voice, you tell him what the problems are. You tell me of course, I'm going to take the message to AG. And I'm going to take it loud and clear. But there are so many issues that we're dealing with. You must make your points clear and sharp and to the point. And when you get an opportunity, let's collectively strike. I am going to make sure that this lecture is heard. First of all, within the ministry. But then we've been talking about primary health care and the relationship between public and private sector. Very important. Right now we're trying to introduce the access to finance. But the people that are resisting are in the corridors of power because they do not understand that the government cannot do it all. We rely on the private sector. If we don't, we're just, struggling and we're going to lose the battle. So we need to understand how that relationship between public and private is going to work in the interest of delivering healthcare. First at the primary, then the secondary, and then the tertiary. Because we've understood clearly that we must establish the foundation, which is primary healthcare. Providing a general family medical practitioner to every citizen within a stone throw away of their home. Just like it happens in Cuba. There's almost one GP per street. So there are so many issues here that I have to, the messages are clear, I'm taking them away with you. The solutions are complex. Very complex, because we're dealing with multiple stakeholders, funding opportunities, and the most important thing is for us to sit down together and explain our plight. Thursday night, we won't leave till Tuesday morning. Now it's illegal. You can't do worse than 1 in 4, even 1 in 5. The Association of Doctors in the United Kingdom fought for that liberty. And now a doctor will do one call and they won't do another call till almost the next week. That's a luxury. But it's not a luxury, that's reality. That's where you want to keep your doctors safe. You want to keep them healthy. You want to keep them in a situation where they're not vulnerable to suicidal thoughts and mentation. All these things you've described, we don't have many doctors, and yet the doctors we have, we are abusing them. So why will they not leave? They will leave, and we have to address that problem. So on that note, I just say, when we have another opportunity like this, and I'm sure many will come, let us arrange the program so that when the people who are in power are sitting up there, we deliver the key messages that we want to deliver. That will help me, because when they hear it from you, from the horse's mouth, then they will come to me and say, wow, you guys are really suffering. I say, well, I told you. So what are we going to do about it? This is what they need, X, Y, Z. So once again, thank you very much. I really enjoyed myself this morning. Well, in a way, I enjoyed myself in the sense that it has empowered me even more, with more courage to take the issues where they matter. I'm so sorry I have to leave, but there are really important people waiting for me. It's not that you're not important, we're all important, but there are issues that need to be dealt with all the time. I'm going to take my leave now. I'm so sorry I cannot be part of your answer and question session, but I've taken away all the messages that you learned, and I would like a copy of the presentation. Thank you very much. I wish you further good deliberations, and at the end of it, obviously, I will try and get access to the recordings and to the conference proceedings, and I will address the conclusions. With permission, sir, if I may take my leave.
Mr. Chairman, AGPMPN Lagos State, and the elders of this association, the Association of General and Private Medical Practitioners of Nigeria, present this to His Excellency Mr. Babajide Olusola, the Executive Governor of Lagos State, in appreciation of his role, leadership role, and support in upliftment of healthcare service delivery for Lagosians. This day, 18th September 2019. Please, my pleasure to give this to His Excellency.
I am very happy that people have questions, although keynote addresses are usually supposed to open doors, speak on this area, speak on that, so that it will arouse interest in people. Usually that's the thing, so that in the next 48 hours or so, people are dwelling on this issue. But I remembered when Isaac Newton used to go and give lecture. So there was one day he went to give lecture. And when he finished giving the lecture, nobody asked any question. He wasn't too happy. So he called his friend that was amongst the audience and said, "Oh boy, what happened?" And people didn't ask any question. So he told him, he said, "All of us were more confused at the end of the lecture." He asked about extra duties. Sir, I know of doctors who do 3 calls in a week, apart from their normal. Dr. Hussein, am I telling lies? Who know in a week, and sir, in a call is 24 hours. So by the time they do 2, they do 3, 72 hours. Apart from their normal duties. And the government says they cannot pay more than 40 hours. That's what they pay. And it is true, sir. The unionists are here. Everybody is here. They've told us that since, and there is nothing anybody can do. They told us, yes, we know you are doing more, but we can't pay more than 40 hours. They told us to face. So that has been the story. Dr. Hosseini, Dr. Said has gone, and we have tried to push it in last week when I was the CMAC, but so that is the truth, sir.
No, what I'm saying, what we have done is illegal, both you and the company. Yes, it's not the order for that. See, you are not supposed to be pushed to this extreme. I was one of those people who got this yes, 1981, and the federal government signed it on behalf of all the governments. But you have gone around now to accept that you can call a different, you did that one because you don't want to lose your job. That is why the enemy should have come in to tell the public that you are doing an illegal something, you are breaking and accepted something between the government and the ordinary doctors. You see, it doesn't speak well of doctors to do that. You make yourself look like slaves. And who is the government that is pushing you? They are just ordinary people like you. And if you allow them to go away with it, without those of us knowing, it's a very big. So that I am challenging the enemy, the present executive, both national or state, to take this up and say to them, we don't have to be prosecuted ourselves when we do something wrong. And the government is left to break the law at any time and say, you have no choice. We are not compelled to rule hospitals with them. If they cannot rule hospitals, then they have failed to do their job. That's the way you should do it, please. Now we have broken that door between government and doctors for a long time now, but you have never made a good use of it to your own benefit. There is nobody in the government now that could actually resist the efforts of doctors. I am saying this with a very big responsibility.
What exactly do we do? Yeah, that's about residency and the politicians. Actually, that is a well-taken fact. The government should establish more institutions and also regulate the graduation of doctors in a way that house job is provided for those who are coming out. All right? And The last thing is the advocacy. Please, when we are doing the advocacy, in most developed tribes of the world, doctors see 20 patients maximum in a day. 20 patients maximum in a day. And if the doctor has to see more than that, he has to be adequately compensated. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, a round of applause for Dr. Adebo. This is what we can take. His award. Please come and pick your award.
It's from Surulere Zone 2. And I'm sure the chairman wants us to hear that. Surulere Zone 2. Association of General and Private Medical Practitioners of Nigeria, Lagos branch, presents this to you, Dr. Ayoade Adedoku, in appreciation of your erudite and scholarly lecture at the AGPMPN Lagos AGM 2019 towards the policy of formulation of the good governance and the erudite lecture which you have, a keynote address which you have delivered today. Dated is 18 September 2019. Thank you very much.
Making the most of the presence of the speaker. The reason why I want to do this is to remind you that the speaker is not a medical doctor. He's a politician. And in very little time, you are not able to get too many issues through to him. Because while he's sitting down here, he's thinking of 10 other things. So sometimes it's not the appropriate place. What you have done is you have gotten him keys with any issue directly in the House. He will have a House committee chairman on health. That is your access. So you will contact the House committee chairman through the commissioner or directly by him. You will get your work done. Remember the speaker told you that I have many legs. I do have a leg in the House of Assembly. So that is the way it is going to be done. You can't hijack him like this. His head is here and not here at the same time. The best way you have done is what you have done. All the things and strategies that you deployed are perfect because now AGPMPN is ringing in his head. But you present your issues in a more detailed and structured way through the House Committee, the chairman on health. We don't have one yet. You know we're still transiting. But as soon as we have one, we can be sure that the Honorable Commissioner reports to the House Committee Chairman on Health. So therefore, he's under his tutelage. He doesn't have a choice. He can call for a meeting and you can all organize the best strategy. So don't lose too much sweat about it. There's progress. I'd like to call on the panelists for our next session. Immediately, we've lost so much time, we really need to make the most of this. They are here, we've invited them, they've been patient, they've been with us the whole day. So let's make the most. I'll call on Dr. Peju Adenusi. We all know her. She's the executive chair of the Lagos State Health Management, followed by the representative of CEO Avon HMO, Ms. Ade Simbo Kiri. Her representative is here. Please come and take a seat. But he has sent a representative here. Please come and take your seat. Side, madam. And finally, we have Dr. Leke Oshuni. We all know him. He's the chief CEO ICO Multi-Shield HMO. Please take your seat. Yes. So these are our panelists. In the meantime, we have Dr. Mr. Jola Olufakoya. He's going to give us a 5-minute overview so that we have the ingredients that we need to commence this discussion.
While quickly pull up the presentation, I would just want to give a brief overview of what my presentation will be about. It's mainly about actuarial input in health budgeting. but I think I should first address what actuarial is. Actuarial is from actuarial science, and someone who is studying actuarial science is an actuary. And what do actuaries do? Actuaries are basically mathematicians and statisticians that apply maths and stats to business problems. Basically anything that has to do with uncertainty of finances, actuaries are there. Actuaries are typically the backbone of insurance companies and pension organizations. And how do we come in here? Whatever has to do with, again, risk and uncertainty of financial outcomes, that is where you find actuaries. And in this topic, we know that health insurance has a lot of uncertainties, and that is why the expertise of actuaries are usually called in determining the prices of health insurance products. The funding of yes, overview of the funding of health insurance. Normally we have, or ideally we should have a fund into which government, external donors, and the general populace would contribute. The contribution of general populace, of course, is by premium payment. And that fund is ideally supposed to be administered or managed by health management organizations to the providers who then provide the basic health benefits. Now, you will see that in this overview we have basic health benefits, top-ups, and vertical programs. I will quickly talk through them shortly. Now, this is, from my experience, an indicative health benefit package, and these are the key components of a basic health benefit package: maternity and child surgery, and one last one, which is the number 9 there, is health emergencies and epidemics. How that is funded, I'll quickly touch on that pretty soon. Now, quickly to the nature of insurance. In other areas, manufacturing, production, financial services, we have different processes. Cost of raw materials, cost of production, research and development, everything is well understood. Then you produce, then you sell. You make profit. Ideally, on every sale you make, you may have factored in your profit margin. Insurance is inverted. You pay money up front, you don't know what happens next. So, if that is not properly priced, providers and HMOs will definitely collapse. So that is why we are here to give you an insight, demystify how that is priced. Sorry for this presentation, but the most important thing that I want to show you is the methodology that goes into pricing health benefits. First thing that I will discuss, and later on we'll discuss at the panel level, is how we collect data. I think some earlier today I heard a comment about capitation being low and all that. The most important thing is the data. The data available to us, the data available to the HMO, is on the basis of which we are able to compute your expected exposure, your expected cost. Once that data is not available, the prices will be nothing but best estimate, which may either be wrong or even overpriced. So data, data, data. How do we collect data? How do we keep data? How do we transfer data to those who will use it to price those benefits? Then the pricing itself. Pricing of health insurance is similar to other types of insurance. What we are really interested in is the cost of the benefits and the expected utilization of those benefits. And we estimate the pure risk, we adjust for inflation. One area that I know that is usually lacking in this health management industry is reviewing prices. Inflation, there were some products that have been priced since 5-10 years ago. We know the movement of inflation. The prices will become grossly inadequate after a while. So how would we price this is very important that we get our data right, because also we look at movement in prices of those services over time, and then we estimate inflation. Then we move on to applying expert judgment, credibility compared with reasonable, other similar schemes, and load for admin and expenses. This is also very important. Competition sometimes make people undercut themselves, not minding that there are additional expenses apart from the services you render as providers. You undercut, you are unable to provide the benefits, everybody suffers for it, including the quality of care to the general populace. So, what are the key considerations in pricing? Modular pricing of benefits. I've seen situations where there is a benefit package, it is not priced by the module in it. So you're selling the benefit package to a male, for example, and to a female, and you're seeing something like screening for prostate cancer. You have to go back to basics, take each service, individualize it, assess the expected utilization, and take them into benefit packages. That is our suggestion. Another thing is the consideration whether you should split benefits or price them by capitation or by fee for expenses, or you incur more expenses than you have allowed for in the prices that you have charged. There will be over-utilization. Again, the payment structure of capitation assumes that you have also assumed that maybe 2,000 people will come for a particular service. If that has been misjudged or miscalculated, 10,000 people come, it stresses the system. The fee becomes grossly inadequate. Substandard care, on the backdrop of that, you expected 2,000, 10,000 people showed up at your doorstep. There is a very high chance that you will reduce the quality of care. And of course, any scheme that is underfunded is destined to fail. It will crash. So what we'll be discussing now, and the questions we'll be trying to draw from the panel, will focus on some of the questions that we have anticipated they come from you, but if you have additional questions, we will take them as we go forward. Thank you very much. I would ask a few questions. I would encourage you to take it according to whether you are representing the health management organizations or the providers. My first question will be, what are the issues on the front burner? Are you seeing too much utilization for covered services or too much utilization for out-of-pocket services?
Too much utilization for covered services, I would say. Speaking on the side of the health insurance company, the AGM, the health management organization, we will not see the utilization for out-of-pocket expenses. We will see utilization for covered services. And yes, utilization from trend has been increasing significantly. And several factors, I would say, affect utilization. When people are able to access care and there's that level of trust in their HM, then they're more likely to want to access care and to go back and back again. Utilization is increasing. What we look at the end of the day is the pool that we have. And the pool as it is today is, generally speaking, is not big enough. We know that, there are different statistics out there. Some people say less than 7% of Nigerians are covered.
Let me ask a quick question on your response. Are you seeing utilization increase as a result of the same people coming for the benefits, or because the population or enrollees are growing? What do you think is causing that increase in utilization that you're seeing? Is it a larger population or the same people coming over and over again?
It's both ways. You see people coming over and over again, but as the population, as your pool increases, utilization obviously will increase. So it's both ways really. You get new people coming because people then begin to trust the scheme. The health insurance scheme in Nigeria started from people being very skeptical, people not trusting, but eventually from time with time, you can see definitely the differences from, you can't compare 10 years ago to today. People are beginning to trust the scheme more, and then they want to use it more. The more they use it, other people too. If you're in an organization, for example, and you go to the hospital, you are attended to, your bills are paid, your colleagues find out, were you able to use your HMO, and you're able to explain that you were able to use your HMO, your services were all covered. Definitely, other people around you also want to use it. If you trust it, your spouse will trust it, your children will be able to use it. And then from there, you see that trust makes more people want to utilize it. So it's not just the same people utilizing, but as the scheme grows, more people coming on board equates to increased utilization.
Another question to our colleague from AECO, which will be on benefit packages. In your expert opinion, do you think the existing benefit packages you have are appropriate so far? Do you think they are appropriate to the population, or they can be improved?
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. First, I'd like to salute the members of the AGPMPN Lagos State. May I remind you that health insurance in Nigeria was activated by AGPMPN Lagos State after a visit in 1986 to the then Honorable Minister of Health, the legendary late Professor Oliko Iranson-Kuti. And he, considered that presentation and he started the ball rolling. And that's why today we have health insurance in Nigeria. I think a round of applause is there for all of us. Now, regarding benefit packages, it doesn't matter how large the benefit package is, provided it is matched by an appropriate premium. So what matters is how much is being paid to match the benefit package. For example, if you have a package that includes complex radiological investigations, MRIs, CT scans, PET scans, etc., then the premium will be much higher than one that doesn't have it. So, huge benefit packages are welcome, provided there's no mismatch between premium pricing and the benefit package. Thanks.
The first is, does it meet the health needs of the people? The basic healthcare package, what are the common or the prevalent conditions in the community? You could even have a minimum package that is 5,000, but does not have what is attractive enough for the people. then it still doesn't meet the needs. So I think that's the first consideration, particularly for social health insurance. Like Dr. Oshini said, in the private health insurance, there's so many things that you can put in. But in this, you're looking at the issue of equity, you're looking at the issue of inclusion, and we know that in our society, at least for Lagos State, just as the Honorable Commissioner said, a significant proportion, almost 70%, fall below the privilege line. And these are people that don't, no exposure at all to any type of insurance. So you also want to include them and also think of affordability when you're looking at your minimum, a benefit package. But how be it, you don't want to throw away too many things. So for example, for the Lagos State Health Scheme, Dr. Shini mentioned it, there's no benefit package that will not look at maternal and child care. In the private plan, they even try to regulate it. You have things like, if you have existing conditions, there's a weight in terms of pregnancies and delivery. But this has to be taken into account, because when you're looking at social health insurance, you want something also that will affect positively your health indices in your state or in the nation. So you have those common things, common childhood illnesses, malaria, and just as we said, because it's a basic healthcare package, there are also some, these are things that you should be able to access such health services at the primary healthcare level. And hence the emphasis on having a functional primary healthcare system. So when I say the primary healthcare, not just limiting to the public sector, but also to the private sector, where you can deliver the primary healthcare services. But how be it, you also have to consider some secondary care services that are also common. I mean, cesarean section will not be done at the primary health center, but that will be done, and it's a key thing when you're looking at maternal health. So if you exclude such a service, then you're not doing justice actually to that benefit package. We also know that there are chronic diseases that we have to look to in our midst. Diabetic mellitus, hypertension, sickle cell, But looking at all this, not looking more to the complicated, or the uncomplicated cases of such. And there are other surgeries, just about 2, apart from minor ones like incisions, there's appendectomy, there's hemorrhage. So in coming up with a benefit package, you have to look at what can cut across. So whether you're rich or poor, you're exposed to this.
Thank you. My next question, even though open, I would like our representative from NHIS to take a swipe at it. It's on mode of payment and the effect on quality of care. So the question will be maybe threefold. One is if the capitation structure has been effective compared to the fee-for-service structure, what effect do these have on the quality of care? And again, it has been said that some providers vary quality of care depending on particular HMOs. Does this have anything to do with the mode of payment? I think that aspect of it, our colleagues from the HMO can.
Mr. Moderator, before I go into this, I want to appreciate the AGPMPN. I've been in other AGMs, but I must say this one is something unique about this one. And it just feels different. And now I really do appreciate the difference I'm seeing, and I know the changes that are going to come out from this. It's going to be something that we all will celebrate. And I want to appreciate Dr. Akintade and his team for a job well done. Now, speaking to capitation versus fee for service and how effective it has been, I would say for both, we have had almost similar outcomes when it comes to the application of both in Nigeria. Actually, fee for service has not been a favorable mode of payment to the maybe World Bank, WHO, and all that. But if you look at the types of fee-for-service we have, the open-ended one, NHIS is not operating the open-ended fee-for-service. But we are operating the negotiated fee-for-service and the regulated fee-for-service. Now, if you look at our pricing on the pricing template, when you take a look at it, you see some of our services that are hashtag. Those are meant for negotiated fee-for-service between HMO and provider. While some you see prices attached, those are regulated fee-for-service. And it applies to over 80% of the services on fee-for-service end. Now, if you're considering that in comparison with capitation, which is fixed, I would say effectiveness on both sides are being the same, even though they apply to different levels of care in NHIS. The capitation is for primary care, fee-for-service is for secondary. But I must say something that we've noticed about fee-for-service, and it has to do with provider behavior. This is scientific. It's been established by different studies that when you make an adjustment in the pricing of services under fee-for-service, whether negotiated or regulated, you begin to see utilization increase if the adjustment you made was positive. You begin to see an increased utilization in that area. And we've not made any negative adjustment, but if you make a negative adjustment, what you tend to see is in that area, there is a drop in utilization